anti-aircraft machinery is gone. Maybe they loaded up a little bit during the 2-week hiatus, but we'll knock that out in about 1 day if they did. We've done an amazing job. Their leaders are gone. You know, the leaders are all gone. Part of the problem is that, that's why I can't really answer your question, but they have all new leadership and they're fighting like cats and dogs for who's going to control. And because we've created a real mess for them, but they've created a mess for the world over the last 47 years. They've killed a lot of our people. When you see a soldier, a young person, or now an older person, but a person without legs or without arms or with a face that got blown to pieces, most likely it was from Iran. It was Soleimani who I killed. Soleimani loved the roadside bomb. He was an evil genius. He was a brilliant general. Probably we wouldn't be as far advanced had I not taken him out. That was the beginning of it all. And then I ended the Obama horror show. The nuclear transaction that he made was horror. It gave him a road to the, you call it, I mean, what the deal that he did, the Iran nuclear deal, was so bad. It gave him a road to a nuclear weapon. And I will tell you, I deal with him. You cannot give Iran a nuclear weapon. This is all about a nuclear weapon. They cannot have the nuclear bomb, and they're not going to have the nuclear bomb. So we've taken out their military. We've hit about 75% of our targets. We stopped a little early because they wanted to have some peace. And we have a blockade that's 100% effective. And they're getting no business. And as you know, they're not doing well economically, financially. They're not doing any business because of the blockade. They want to make a deal. We have been speaking to them, but they don't even know who's leading the country. They're in turmoil. They're in turmoil. So we thought we'd give them a little chance to get some of their turmoil resolved. But, you know, and I hope the fake news, people like you, I hope the fake news are going to be able to write about it accurately, because when you say, oh, they're fighting very well, they're not fighting well. They've been obliterated, Jeff, obliterated. 159 ships are in their Navy. You know how many ships are at the bottom of the sea, Jeff? 159. So, you know, and if you read the New York Times, the failing New York Times, subscriptions are way down, as you know. That's because people don't believe the stuff anymore. If you watch CNN, you'd think that they're doing well in the war. They're not doing well. They're getting absolutely decimated. Now, with all of that being said, we'll see what happens. They have a lot of, we have no pressure. It's only guys like you with a question like that about what's your time. We've been doing it for 5.5 weeks.
But sir, is your administration, Mr. President, 8 weeks that the U.S. now has been involved with Iran? You had initially said it would be 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, I hope that, but I also took a little break. I gave them a break. And remember this, I want to make the best deal. I could make a deal right now. Do you know that if I left right now, we had a tremendous success. It would take them 20 years to rebuild, but I don't want to do that. I want to have it everlasting. I want to have it where they never have a chance to get it. I mean, the way you asked that question, yeah, I did say it. I thought it would take 4 to 6 weeks, and I was right, because at the end of 6 weeks, at the end of 4 weeks, their military was decimated.
So are you saying?
But now what I'm doing, I can't tell you that. I don't want to put that kind of a timetable on it, but it'll go pretty quickly, and we'll have the Strait opened up. Now, right now, we have it closed. We have total control of the Strait. And the fact that it's closed, you know, they would have opened it up 3 days ago. They came to us and they said, we will agree to open the Strait. And all my people were happy. Everybody was happy except me. I said, wait a minute, if we open the Strait, that means they're going to make $500 million a day. I don't want them to make $500 million a day until they settle this thing. So I'm the one that kept it closed. We have total control of it. And it'll open when they make a deal or something else happens that's very positive.
But what do you say to the American public? Excuse me. What do you say to the American people who question how much longer this will take? Obviously, you know that they are having.
You're such a disgrace. Did you hear what I just said? Vietnam. How many years was Vietnam?
I understand, sir. But
how many years was
Vietnam?
Vietnam?
Deadline, so
well, I did my. I took the country out militarily in the first 4 weeks. I took it out militarily. Now all we're doing is sitting back and seeing what deal. And if they don't want to make a deal, then I'll finish it up militarily with the other 25% of the targets. We've hit 78% of the targets that we've wanted to hit. We've knocked out their manufacturing. We've knocked out their missile production. We've knocked out their drone production. We've knocked out everything. In some cases, when I say knocked it out, 70, 80, 90%. It's amazing what we've done. So I've done that within that period of time that I mentioned, but I don't want to rush myself, because every story says, oh, Trump is under time pressure. I'm not, no. You know who's under time pressure? They are. Because if they don't get their oil moving, their whole oil infrastructure is going to explode. You know what that means? Because they have no place to store it. And because they have no place to store it, if they have to stop it, something happens that only Len can explain. Something happens underground that essentially renders it in very poor shape, and you never recover fully. You can recover 50, 60%, but you can never have it like it is right now. And they have a matter of days before that event takes place. So I'm not under any pressure whatsoever. We've never had so much ammunition. Our ships are loaded. I call them locked and loaded. They're locked and loaded. They're ready to go. We have much higher quality equipment than we did when we first started the war, and or the military operation, whatever you want to call it. And they're coming to us. The problem they have is they are very disorganized right now. Well, now yesterday, and I was very pleased with this, 8 young women were going to be executed yesterday afternoon at 6 o'clock. And I asked them, call it a favor or call it just a moral request that they not be executed. And they came back with an answer that they won't be executed. They're going to release, it was protesting. 8 beautiful young women, very young women. And their pictures in the paper. And it's been a story for a little while. And I saw that and I said, let's see if we can save them. And it was very nice what happened. So they're not going to be, what they're doing is, as you know, they're releasing 4 of them very shortly, and they're going to keep 4 of them in jail for a period of 1 month and release them, so they won't be executed. Yeah,
So if you're asking for more time to sort out
I'm
negotiations
not
with
asking you
Iran.
for more time. I'm not asking for them. No,
But
it's
if
not
you
more
need
time.
more
I'm not asking anybody for more time.
If you need more time, does that mean Americans should anticipate spending more on gasoline for the foreseeable
For a
future?
little while. And you know what they get for that? You know what they get for that? Iran without a nuclear weapon that's going to try and blow up one of our cities or blow up the entire Middle East. You want to see what shock would be? And I have to be honest, the stock market is at an all-time high right now. I thought it would have been down 20, 25%. When we hit, wait a minute, wait, can I finish my question, wise guy? The stock market's at an all-time high right now. I projected, and I'm pretty good at this, that the stock market, Howard, would drop maybe 20%, 25%, and I understood that, and I said, hey, it's a bad thing, but I have to do what's right for the country, even the world, because you can't have them, you cannot let them have a nuclear weapon. So the stock market, unlike what a lot of people were predicting, I thought they weren't necessarily wrong, and the stock market today hit an all-time high, hit an all-time high yesterday, the day before, and it's staying there. I thought oil would go up to maybe $200 a barrel, and oil is a different number than anyone thought. In fact, this country is much lower because we have all the oil we can use. We're actually, ships are coming from all over the world to Texas, Louisiana, and Alaska. They're coming from all over the world to get oil from the United States, while this is closed, the Hormuz Strait. So if you look at what I said, I guess it was right, because I said I'd have it 4 to 6 weeks, and in 4 weeks we have totally defeated their military. So right now, I don't want to rush it because you guys are, trying to make us look as bad as possible. I don't want to rush it. I want to take my time. We have plenty of time, and I want to get a great deal. I want to get a deal where our nation and the world is safe from lunatics with nuclear weapons. Yes.
If it does go to 200, are you okay with that, sir? If oil goes to 200?
I think that there's nothing worse than a nuclear weapon that takes out one of your cities or 2 of your cities or 3. I think there's nothing worse than a nuclear weapon that's going to destroy the Middle East, including Israel. I think there's nothing worse than Europe being under attack by people that have missiles now that reach Europe. As you know, they don't reach us, but they reach Europe. But they will reach us at some time, probably the not too distant future, unless we stop them now. I think there would be nothing worse than having nuclear holocaust in Europe, London, Paris, various places in Germany, all targeted. No, what I what I say is you can't let them have, I don't think it will happen, by the way. I really think we actually, it turns out that we are drill baby drill, and it turns out we're producing a lot of oil, and they're buying the oil. They're going to Alaska, they're going to Texas, Louisiana, and our guys have done a fantastic job. We're putting out right now more oil and gas than we ever have in the history of our country. And one other thing, there are more people employed today in the United States than ever in the history of our country.
Mr. President, I have a question, sir. Is it true that your administration is considering sending 1,100 Afghans to the Democratic Republic of Congo? And if so, do you have a response to
I don't know, I'd have to check that.
Do you plan to
Please,
bring
no, behind
out-
Thank you, Mr. President. Breitbart News' Matt Boyle just published an interview with Greek Prime Minister Mitsotakis, in which the Prime Minister said that he's rooting for you to succeed in getting a deal with Iran. And he also said he looks forward to hosting you in Greece later this year. Do you have any
It's very
response?
nice. No, it's really nice. I mean, Greece has been very supportive, actually. Greece has been terrific. He's a terrific guy because he understands the importance of it. You know, oil goes up a little bit. I hate it. You know, I was the one that had it down to $60 a barrel. And I looked at guys like Howard Lutnick. Howard, you remember it well. I said, well, we just hit an all-time high in the history of the market. Think of this. When we hit 50,000, I was told, everybody was told, when I won the election, November 5th, they said, well, during the 4-year period, it'll be impossible for the Dow to ever reach 50,000. It'll be impossible for the S&P to ever hit 7,000. Impossible. And you remember that, Howard, right? It was going to hit maybe 6, 7 years, 8 years, but I did it in my first year, hit 50,000. Now it's just about at 50,000, and S&P is higher than it was when we started. And S&P hit over 7,000, and that was before the year ended up 1 year. So I can only tell you this, it'll end. I don't think it'll be very long, by the way. They're delaying it because we don't know who to deal with. They are in, you know, they know who the leader is in this country. We don't know who the leader is in Iran. Because remember, regime change. Khomeini is gone. He's gone to greener pastures. He's gone, and all of his team is gone. Then a second group came in, they're all gone. And now you have the third group, and they're a little concerned about being gone too.
Sir, would you use a nuclear weapon against Iran? You posted on
No.
Truth Social
No,
a few weeks ago.
we don't need
That's
it.
not
Why do
what
I need it? Why would a stupid question like that be asked?
You posted-
Why would I use a nuclear weapon when we've totally, in a very conventional way, decimated them without it? No, I wouldn't use it. A nuclear weapon should never be allowed to be used by anybody.
Iranians given a
Onto the
timeline
state
of when
visit,
they
sir,
could give
which
you a
we're
proposal?
all very much looking forward to. Prince Harry today has said that he would like to see you do more to end the war in Ukraine. Do you think it's appropriate for a royal to make those comments ahead of the visit on Monday?
Prince Harry?
Yes, sir.
How's he doing?
He's in
How's his
Ukraine.
wife? Please give him my regards, okay? No, I don't know. I know one thing. Prince Harry is not speaking for the UK. That's for sure. I think I'm speaking for the UK more than Prince Harry. But I appreciate his advice very much.
Would you have
Great
invited him
advice.
to the dinner and to the state visit?
Well, I look forward to the dinner. We're having King Charles come. He's a friend of mine. We're really looking forward to it. We've spoken, and we're going to have a great time. I tell you, if I had that ballroom built, it would be filled. I wish we had more seats. You know, they've wanted a new ballroom for 150 years. Now they're getting the best in the world. We're going to have the best in the world. But, you know, we have a room that's not big enough to handle what would be a big crowd. But we're going to have very great people that love the UK. I love the UK. I think they made a big mistake on energy. You should open up the North Sea in Aberdeen. You should open it up. And the other thing is they've made a big mistake on immigration. Okay.
Sir, on Trump RX,
Please,
What do you hope to learn from Jeanine Pirro's investigation into the Fed's renovation that you
Say it
did
again.
not? What do you hope to learn from the Jeanine Pirro's investigation into the Federal Reserve's reservation that you did not learn when you visited the site yourself last week?
Well, look, you know, the Federal Reserve building is a small building. They're going to be in there by the time it opens, in my opinion, for $4 billion. I built a hotel down the road for $201 million that I believe is bigger than the Federal Reserve building. $201 million. And the ballroom, I'm going to have the ballroom from $300 to $400 million, depending on finishes, like marbles to quality and quality finishes. We'll go top of the line. But that's a much bigger project. When you look at the fact that they've taken this beautiful building and destroyed it. They've taken down the beautiful ceilings with eagles. They've taken down the walls that are a foot and a half thick, masonry. You couldn't hear from office to office. They ripped it all down. They ripped down, because Kevin Warsh, who's terrific, said, gee, the saddest thing is they ripped down the nicest building in Washington for boardrooms and all. Did you know about that building? They ripped it down. It was beautiful. The boardroom building, it was beautiful, and they ripped it down. And probably because it cost so much to fix it. So I would have done that job for $25 million, had money left over. It's going to cost more than, in my opinion, it's not going to open for a long time. You know, Kevin may not be able to have an office. I'm going to have to get him an office. Can you give him an office?
We have space.
Bobby, do you have some space over there, please?
Yeah, we have a lot of space.
But he has more than you think. But we're going to have Kevin sitting right next to you, Bobby. But it may not open for a long time. I looked at it the other day. It's a see-through. See-through, you know, that means the walls aren't even up yet. This is after years and years of construction. And somehow, you have to find out what went wrong. That a small building, I could have done it for $25 million and had money left over. It would have been beautiful. That a small building can cost $4 billion. It may never open. It may never open. And we have to get to that. On top of that, he's been terrible on interest rates because he should have lowered interest rates. That's why I call him Jerome Too Late. Too Late is his nickname. Jerome Too Late Powell. He likes me a lot. Thank you very much.
That was pretty extraordinary once he got into the Q&A. I've got so much to say about that, and we're following, of course, some breaking news this afternoon out of Baton Rouge. Those may be the dumbest sequence of questions I have ever heard in the White House. And we've heard a lot of live back and forth with the president, which we never hear like that with previous presidents. But these people kept trying to get Trump to take the bait on some fake deadline. We haven't shot anybody over there in 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks. I mean, the war part was over in 4 weeks. We're negotiating the end of this thing. Their government scrambling. They ask him, if oil went to $200 a barrel, would that be okay? I mean, how do you answer that? No or yes? It's so stupid. Oil's not even approaching $200 a barrel. It's been below 100 for weeks now. And it only got to about 120 at the highest point during the most uncertainty about this thing. One of them asked him if he'd use a nuclear bomb. The good thing, Trump's grown more sophisticated at dealing with these jackals, these total amateurs. And he didn't take the bait on any of that stuff. He's not going to negotiate through these low-rent pretend journalists at something as sensitive to the world as this incredible effort our military has put forward. What a bunch of fools. Alabama Bass bringing you the show tonight. Y'all, Mike and Jill and Sandra and the whole company, that's the family part. And then John and Dewey and all those guys may as well be family. It's a local business, but they've got a better product than corporate America has, and they don't hit you with all this sales jive and a bunch of pressure tactics to try to get you to fix your shower system. Let's talk about what they do. They'll come in and replace all of that mess completely. Take it out, and you'll be happy. You'll be happy as a little old clam. Hold on, AJ, I got to turn this graphic off somehow. There we go. Got that figured out. Welcome back. Had to change the cameras. Alabama Bass, y'all, walk-in systems, easy entry. Whether it's a bathtub, then they come in and put you one of those bathtubs with the door where you fill them up, or redo your whole situation so that you now have a stand-up facility. It's way easier to use and much more safe for you or somebody in your family that needs this kind of change in your home. We grow old, we change. Our house can change with us. Let the folks at Alabama Bass take care of you. It's Alabama Bass. If you want to see one of these things, they're down in Pelham, and they'd love for you to drop by. They've got a build-out down there. It's alabamabass.com. Back here in just a minute. Man, a lot of headlines came straight out of that news conference. We'll be sweeping those up here in a minute, too. Lanius Furniture Company bringing you the show, Launius. Y'all go see them if you got any kind of furniture shopping. I think we're looking for a couple barrel chairs, maybe a chest or two with some new additional space we're going to have. And I'm looking forward to it because I know, I'm terrible at this stuff. Sometimes I don't know what I want. I just know what I don't like. And in that scenario, if you're like that, what you need is a bunch of selections. You can weed it out until you see exactly what works. And that's been my experience every time I've gone to Lanius. And now with this showroom, I still call it their new showroom, even though it's been around for a couple of years. When your business is 93 years old, I guess it's still new. But this is a superstore. It's a huge open span space, beautifully displayed. They've got everything grouped so nicely. So things that go together, but you may piece it together a different way. But they're just options. They're take your time. For some of you, it's a long drive. So either pack a lunch or run out to eat in one of the fine restaurants around Kimberly or Warrior and go back and keep going, because there's a lot to look at. And they even have more, quote, in the back in their warehouse operation. They can put their hands on a lot of fine furniture that's on the ground in Alabama, designs you're going to love. Depending on your style, they got a little something for everybody. Names you're going to know, prices you're going to respect, and the best people that you could just shop with in that business anywhere. Lanius Furniture Company, exit 280, LaniusFurnitureCompany.com. All right, man, we're trying to gather a lot of things this afternoon. I'll go back over some of the Trump stuff here in just a minute. We've had a shooting at the Mall of Louisiana down in Baton Rouge, and all we know is at least 10 people were carried away on stretchers to area hospitals. The governor has commented. We don't know anything about potential fatalities. One of the early reports where it was seemed to be, quote, targeted, and that there were a couple of rival groups that may have gotten into it. It looked like it was in the food court area. I've never been to that mall. AJ, you're familiar with it, though, you said during the break? You know this mall pretty well? I think AJ's lining a call up right now. AJ, tell me when you're ready. I know you're doing things over there, too, but you might be able to give us a little bit of color about the mall itself. Have you been to this mall?
I believe I have been to that mall, and I think that's not too far from the LSU campus. So
yeah,
I don't think it's too far from there. I was out there kind of like late last year, and I had stopped by the mall. I had some downtime and went over there. I mean, it's a pretty nice sized mall.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's not too far from the university.
Mall of Louisiana. It says multiple people have been shot. Law enforcement still swarming the scene. I don't see anything about the shooters or shooter being taken out or any arrests. So we're going to have to follow that this afternoon. Huge police response. It's so ironic because I had just saw a survey of the SEC college campuses and the crime statistics for those areas. I think somebody from Mississippi State put it out because they had the lowest per capita violent crime. Auburn was next at the bottom. Two small towns, two quaint places. As much as people hate on Starkville, it's a cute little small town. But then you get into the bigger cities. Nashville was actually the worst. They had the worst crime near Vanderbilt's campus. But LSU, if I remember right, was second there in Baton Rouge with a lot of crime and criminal activity near that campus. For those keeping score, I think Tuscaloosa was down about 6 or 7 on that list, somewhere toward the middle, but much higher than the two at the bottom. So anyway, randomness, but there's that. All right, I see Clarissa over there, but if I took her call right now, it wouldn't be fair because we got to go to this bottom of the hour break. I swear, y'all, I'm going to catch up. Let me tell you all about Douglas Cooling and Heating. We'll go get the bottom break, come back and kind of be back on a normal pace, start taking some of your phone calls. Y'all call Douglas and get them over to your place and let them get you tuned up for summer. In fact, that's their website, calldouglas.com. Jay runs a wonderful company. They're comprehensive. They can do it all. And they've taken care of me for any reference for 17 years. My family, every situation you can imagine, and I trust them to send them to your house. So let's take care of those things when we start with all that sweltering heat and humidity. They've got a plumbing division too, so check them out if you need plumbing work. It's calldouglas.com, C-A-L-L, calldouglas.com. License number 2017181, calldouglas.com. Back here in just a minute. Y'all hang on. All right, here we go again. 3:34, Leland Live, Talk 99.5. We got a good chance of hail this weekend, starting tomorrow night, really. Several rounds of storms and rain coming through over the next several days. So here we go with all that. If you wind up needing a good roofer, I just happen to know a guy. His name is Greg Nelson. Been on the show with us for years. Been calling the show even longer than he's been a partner with us and an advertiser here on the show. Greg's a great guy. Just know that. He's been in this business for going on 30 full years. Got a lot of his family involved. That's always important to me. Any family business with a couple of generations keeping things going means they stand behind what they do. Their family's name is riding on it. They've been doing it long enough for a whole new generation to come along. To me, that says a lot. We've got several of our businesses that are like that here on the show. So when it comes to your roof, I don't want to be on a ladder. I don't know what I'm looking at. That's not something we do ourselves, and you don't want to trust some fly-by-night operation that happens to show up after a big storm trolling for business. I've said it before, I admire the hustle, but we don't know where these people came from. You can know Greg. So put this number aside. If you're not in the business right now having to worry about your roof, maybe all is good and you don't need a repair or an upgrade or anything right now, you still might need this number in a pinch. It's Storm Restoration Roofing, 205-542-3531. Greg is so good at helping you with the whole process, doing all that insurance paperwork, filing your claim, getting actually covered because your claim is legit. It helps to have your own expert involved in that process. It's Greg Nelson. Again, here's that number, 205-542-3531, Storm Restoration Roofing. As we get ready for some inclement weather starting this weekend, could be several inches of rain over the next 2 weeks. That'd be good. We just got to dodge some storms in between. Let's go to the phones and get Clarissa in here, and we'll throw the phone lines open. We haven't had a whole lot of time for calls because we've been so busy with the Trump news today. Clarissa, you're up first. Go ahead, girl.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Leland, this media is something else. I just had some thoughts about the press conference that you just played. And, just to think that 159 ships are at the bottom of the ocean, pardon the pun, that let that sink in. And you could stop right there, but that Iran is in such turmoil, they can't even decide who's in charge. Trump gets accused for being rash when the reality is he's such a strategist. He's stabilizing the region and thus the world. And we are complaining about $15 more at the pump in exchange, as he said, for no nuclear holocaust. Gas is still lower than it was under the mismanagement of the Biden administration.
Yes.
But the media doesn't want to put anything in context. He could cure cancer and the media would find fault. He saved the lives of 8 beautiful and brave women yesterday that are going to be the future of Iran. We've closed the strait. His tone was calm and collected, which I think is very telling and gave me a lot of assurance. It was what he didn't say instead of what he did say, that he's not going to reveal his next step publicly. And this media is just wild in how they phrase their questions. They feel more like allegations instead of journalistic inquiries.
Well said. It was so childish. I mean, it just utterly juvenile, the approach to that questioning. And a lot of times I realize what Trump's been doing forever and they still don't understand it, is he does these things live. Other presidents don't do this. They send their spokespeople out. They'll do a formal news conference. Hell, Biden's whole news conferences were scripted. They told him who to call on. The reporter already had the question ready. They tried to script his answer so he'd be ready. Trump just lets it fly, and here's why. Because he knows the public hears how stupid those questions are. And then when they go back and see the coverage, they know where it originated. That's some of the dumbest stuff I've ever heard to ask a president in the context of where we are. And as you said, Clarissa, good Lord, we destroyed that country in 4 weeks, and now they're like a bunch of children in the back seat whining, are we there yet? I mean, smack them and tell them to shut up, or get out of the car. So anyway, there's that.
Yeah, well, thanks for taking my call, Leland.
Thanks, Clarissa. Yeah, I had to pile on to what she said. It was just dumb. Would you hit them with a nuclear weapon? Why the hell would we do that? We've already there's nothing to hit. The war's over. The war's been over. We're not at war with them. We haven't been at war with them since the first 2 weeks. They haven't shot anything at anybody. They can't. They've got a few things left. They've got stuff in the bunker. They're fighting with each other right now. We're choking off their economy. We've got them where we want them. Why rush? I know people want cheap gas. I want cheap gas. I was doing the math on it today. I got a trip this summer planned. I've been planning it for months. I bet it's going to add $1,000, $1,500 if gas doesn't come down, but I'll eat it. I mean, some people may say, it's easy for you to say, the hell it is. You know what it means is I'll change some of the plans. I'll move things around. I'll figure out how to cope because we're not struggling in this country right now. We are uncomfortable with those prices, and it's hard on some industries for sure, but we don't know. We should, our ancestors, if they could if they could get in a time machine in the past and show up today after all they went through, all of them, the black folks, white folks that have been through all the real hardships that humans have gone through before our country was even founded 250 years ago and then thereafter, would absolutely snot bubble laugh at us for the whiny bitches we have turned into as a society. And I think social media is driving a lot of it. People are just becoming neurotic and humorless and joyless. And it's driving, look, if it's driving you crazy, just back off of it. I've had to do it. I've had to do it. It's sort of a, to be honest with you, it's a little bit of a occupational hazard just to keep up with the news, but to be able to filter that out and stay out of the other conspiracy theory craziness, it's just nuts. So in what real world does a modern military go up against another modern military? Y'all realize they were armed. Let me just stay with this for a minute. I'll get to the Baton Rouge thing. We got other stuff in the news too. These people were armed with some of China's most sophisticated air defense and missile systems. China, supposedly the other big military rival to us in the world. And it failed. And it's the same stuff that failed in Venezuela. We made fools out of all of that in days. We got a pilot shot down in an old F-15 with a shoulder-fired weapon and moved heaven and earth and got our guy back. Got both of our guys back. It was really two pilots, and we forget that. So we technically had boots on the ground for a minute, but we didn't invade this country. We dismantled their threat, and now they're trying to figure out how they're going to go forward. And so, yeah, let's choke them off and let them figure that out. Let's apply pressure. Let's be smart. That's the peaceful route. If he went back in and started bombing next week, the questions would be about, is he just a warmonger? Aren't you just a warmonger? Trump pauses everything and says, okay, that's enough. Let's let him wiggle around for a minute and see what happens. And now suddenly he's missed a deadline. Are you serious? It was petulant. Sir, would you accept gas at $200 a barrel? Gas is nowhere near $200 a barrel. It's less than half that. And it's not the energy. That's the beautiful thing about capitalism, investment, and supply and demand theory. Okay. Things work themselves out. It's just true. When there's demand, the industry figures ways around the problem. It's how things get developed. It's how problems get solved. And they're doing it right now. The world is finding end runs around all this, and that's stabilized the prices. Not to mention, we're selling a hell of a lot of it to the rest of the world as well. It's going to help our GDP. The fundamental numbers of our economy are so good. Wall Street had a down day today. It wasn't bad, but you know, it's typical up and down of the markets and everything. Despite a war type situation and an oil run up in the last 5 weeks, let's round it off and say 6 weeks. Despite that, we're still setting records in the markets. Now, we pulled back a little bit today, but we're within a breath of a Dow record. We've already broken records in the S&P and the NASDAQ. Again, right in the middle of all this stuff. What does that tell you? That despite the oil price, everything else is so good, it's holding up the rest of the market, which means when the oil price stabilizes, the market's going to take off like a rocket. It would not surprise me when this thing is resolved by August or the fall that we're looking at a Dow at 52,000. Wouldn't surprise me at all, unless there's other, unforeseen things that could shock us. We've all lived through COVID and other manufactured stuff. So anyway, I had to get all that off my chest. 545-9950. Y'all get in here if you want to get in and opine on any of that stuff. Man, it's like half the show's over already. Alabama Gold Refinery, speaking of investments, it's a good place to go start getting in the gold, silver, or platinum game. Some of you have never done that. Some of you have always been curious about it, or maybe you've got some scrap or collectibles. Or when I say scrap, I just mean old pieces that are worth something because, they've got weight value because they are made out of gold. And, man, I'm telling you, this is the time to go sell or buy. We're sort of in between. We hit a record high, and then it pulled back right after the war started. There was a bunch of dumping of gold. People were generating cash for this thing. And then it started crawling right back to where it's always been. So you can do it at Alabama Gold Refinery in a safe way. It's a safe location. It's a fair place. Steve and those guys really do just roll out the red carpet for you. He's a wealth of knowledge anyway about the history of it and how commodities work. You can trade in any of the precious metal mediums. He will trade. He'll buy from you, sell to you, trade with you, whatever. They've got cool things in there too. People have brought in over time. Alabama Gold Refinery, you'll see them over in Homewood on 29th, right across from the big tall Regions building. AGR, AlabamaGoldRefinery.com. Back here in just a minute. Man, let's talk about taxes. I know some of y'all survived the tax week last week. Man, right under the radar. But some of you couldn't pay, or maybe even previous years have caught up with you. Whatever your situation is, and it comes in a number of forms. And you don't have to feel dumb or disorganized or like you were duped by another preparer. Things happen with this tax code. It is confusing by design. It's unfair. It's punitive to success. It cherry picks winners and losers, and it needs to be changed. But right now we got to live with it. One of the good things about some laws Congress passed years ago, there are laws to protect you from the federal government harassing you out of your money. There are also laws, of course, that help you settle. And Perry Cronin, here local, knows all of it. He knows as much or more about this than anybody I've ever been around. I think he is as knowledgeable as anybody in this nation. So rather than some of these TV ads where you're going to see services like this from somebody that by design is just going to be somebody that's going to be a stranger to you, you can actually sit down and get to know Perry. He's local, and that means you can converse and talk about these things in a personal way. He's not going to look down his nose at you. He gets it because he's seen everything. He wants to help. He wants to get you out of this box with the IRS and their pressure tactics. Y'all, it is Perry Cronin. The business is called Axiom Tax Resolution Group. And let him help you get settled with the IRS. Let him help you settle for less than you owe, get the harassment to stop, and get some peace back in your life. It's hard to sleep when you're worried about money, so don't worry about it. Let Perry help. Let's get ahead of this thing. It's Axiom Tax Resolution Group. They're probably, I don't know if they're taking a break this week. I would. I'd take some time off, but 205tax.com is the website. It sounds like a phone number, but it's the area code and the word tax. 205tax.com. The phone number is 872-1100 Axiom Tax Resolution Group. All right, let me get into some fraud stories and talk about a few things. And I want to talk about our Attorney General's race. I think I'll save that for next hour. There's just some, it's getting so stupid. And we'll get into some of that in a minute. And some fresh polling out, I think, this afternoon on the Senate race. We're going to see more and more of that as we get closer to the election day, which ironically is what? We're a little over 3 weeks away from going to the polls in the primary. So, but we've got this SPLC story that is still just rocking the news cycle. As it was just a breathtaking indictment. It came out during the show, and I told y'all in the moment, it just happened to be one of these areas. I've been keeping up with these people for probably 4 decades, and their abuse of both their donors and their targets. These people are nothing but sort of a hit job terror type organization that impugns and disparages good, decent people in this country for disagreement. They're a wing of the sort of central planner state apparatus. It's amazing how they've all worked symbiotically. It was for a while the Biden Justice Department, previous Justice Departments, all you intellectual people, pseudo intellectuals, universities, researchers, they did nothing but it's a shakedown operation, and they create their own boogeymen and then attack their own boogeymen, and it's just breathtaking that they finally got busted. Now, I told you they had money squirreled away in the Cayman Islands. That story was a huge controversy. I guess it was about 10 or 15 years ago. The word of the way they handle their finances came out, and they've been parking their money in the Caymans, and there's some estimates today that they have $700+ million. They're close to $1 billion in some sort of endowment that they have parked offshore, most likely to evade taxation. Now, remember, they're called the Southern Poverty Law Center. They're supposed to be a charity. They're supposed to do legal work helping the people that have been put upon by the wealthy and the elite. But what they really do is harass people, create situations where they get money. So more and more, they put out a statement a while back saying all their money comes from donors. They don't take government money. And then some people started sending me some documents where the state of Alabama has been sending the money. So I looked into it, didn't get too far, but what I think we're looking at, there was one document yesterday that somebody sent around where the state of Alabama at one point had paid them $375,000. I think what that is, and I'm going to guess without having the time or the ability to go dig into the government records, that is probably legal fees for lawsuits that are brought against the state. Primarily, it's going to be in the prison system. They're involved in a lot of those type lawsuits like the ACLU. And then if the state decides to settle and or loses the case, then sometimes they're going to compensate the attorneys for their legal fees. So yes, they do get some form of government funding, but it's through their activity. Some of that may be legit. And that's the other thing you should recognize. They do some legitimate pro bono style activist legal activity for sure. But the funding, the one excuse that they've made in the last 2-3 days that does not pass any kind of smell test whatsoever is that these were paid informants, that they were paying people to infiltrate these organizations so they could gather intelligence. Here's why that doesn't work. Because some of the people they were paying were the leaders of the organizations. They weren't surreptitious people who just blended in and spied on them. They were the people directing the activity, which sounds more like the SPLC was in sort of funding the direction of that activity. It gave them headlines. We talked about the money they raised after that phony Charlottesville incident. A lot of people were duped by that and fooled by it, including all those people that suddenly gave them $130 million after that. How much of that wound up in the Caymans? I hope that if they lose this case, and it's only bound to grow bigger now that the sort of cat's out of the bag on it, that the federal government can seize those assets and put them out of business. They've been borderline criminal in some of the harassment activity they've done to some very, very good and decent people. And I had forgotten about, there was a shooting incident at the Family Research Center in Washington. And I've been to their building a few times in the previous years, especially when I worked in the area of public policy and with some think tanks. That's pretty much what they are, is a big giant Washington think tank for conservatives. And some lunatic went out and shot up the place, tried to barge in because of a report he read that the SPLC had put out about this organization. They put Ben Carson on their list as an extremist. Marsha Blackburn, genteel old Senator Marsha Blackburn up in Tennessee, is somehow in the Taliban. You know who they haven't put on an extremist list and a dangerous list? Antifa. So it tells you everything you need to know about them. They have gone about their business doing these things. They're directly tied to the animosity that was built against Turning Point USA, listing them as some kind of hate group. Thus, a predicate a lot of people believe that'll be manifest in this trial coming up of the Charlie Kirk shooter, that he was led down that path by some of the material produced and the targeting that was done by the SPLC toward Charlie Kirk and his organization. In other words, I'm not saying they're culpable for his assassination, but they fed the beast, and that's what they do. So they've been busted, and it's fun to watch them flail around and try to pretend that they still have dignity, and they don't. They've been, John Stossel's been calling them out for years for the irresponsible and aggressive harassment that they've done to people in this country for merely opposing their viewpoint, opposing or having an alternative thought. And here's what's at the core of all this. Liberals, Democrats, socialists, commies, whatever label they want to carry, they all have one core thing at the center of their beliefs, and that is they believe in government control of you and me, period. They are government people, and the Constitution is antithetical to that. The Constitution was designed as the opposite of that. It restrains them. It's why this Virginia vote the other day is likely to get tossed out. It's why we're going to get some Supreme Court rulings that we'll have soon, because it protects us, average citizens, and thus the sovereign states against the overreach, particularly of the central government. People like the SPLC, the ACLU, the Democrat National Committee, and other organizations, all the dark money, insidious backroom groups that Obama runs, these people hate the Constitution because it holds them back. It restrains their ambition. Our founders studied people like this. They're not new. They're throughout world history. People just like this, envious, power hungry, controlling. They want to plan your whole life. They are the Mondamis of the world. They want to take their vision of what they call fairness and steal from you and redistribute it. They want to tell you what you can say, where you can live, how to set your thermostat, what kind of car you can drive, what kind of light bulb you can use, what kind of toilet you can pee in. They never find an end to the kind of control they want to put in our lives. The United States Constitution uniquely was designed to stop those people from doing these things through the apparatus of government. That's the battle we're in right now, control and a constitutional reset in this country. If we don't get it in the next 2 years, they will find a way to run it clean over. They'll go around it, under it, over it, through it, because they do not respect it. They do not like it. They don't want to heed its words. And they're after all of it. Everything that is the American experiment of free people without a central government is at stake right now because of these very people doing the things they've done to people that would rather you be free and have your own thoughts. Back here in a minute, Leland Live.